Hello and welcome to Off Track, the lockdown series. Today I'm going to be talking to a driver whose name's been mentioned quite a few times over the last few weeks in our interviews, and that's 64 Kev Smith. Kev, good morning, or in fact, good evening.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Yeah,
how you doing?
Going good over here.
So I guess this is the first time I've ever spoken to anybody in New Zealand, so I'm really excited. It's a first. It's a first. So
Sorry, I don't have the accent for you.
No, absolutely. I guess the reason why one of the reasons why we're doing these interviews is because of the current situation we find ourselves in terms of being a bit of a lockdown and stuff. So you guys are a bit further ahead than us in terms of easing of restrictions. So what's it like in New Zealand at the moment?
Well, we're nearly back to what you could call normal. Everyone, 90% of people's back at work, because it's just mainly borders now that's closed. Obviously, no flights coming in, but for a while, anyone that's come in is being quarantined for 14 days. So, yeah, we've no cases at all over here now. So we've sort of got the tick. We're clear. So let's hope it stays that way.
Yeah, and feeling a bit more positive, I guess, about things, because it is, if you're easing restrictions a little bit more.
Yeah, it's good over here because the restrictions are lifted, but obviously all our family is all back in the UK. There's only us 5 over here, so we know it's still, there's a bit of it around there. So it's bit of a bad situation for everybody, really.
Yeah. Okay. For the younger viewers who are watching this and guessing, they're kind of saying, who is this that Jonathan's talking to? So a bit of context, had a fantastic career in Bristol Formula 1 stock cars before emigrating to New Zealand. What was the decision making behind such a huge move? Why did you do
it? People laugh when we say it. We watched Billy Connolly's World Tour in New Zealand, and we're watching that, and I just says to my sister, why don't we live somewhere like that? And it was like, not a joke, but it's a beautiful place. There's not many people here. And she just went, you're dreaming. And then we looked into it, and then it happened. Like 18 months later, we just sold up, and we were over here. So a lot of work went into thinking about it. It's a big thing to do. With no family out here, a lot of people that come out, everybody else, the rest of the family's already here. But for us, no. But no, Billy Connolly's the man to blame.
Does he know this? Does he know that? Or?
No, but fortunately for us, like I say, he's played a big part in his lives, because for the last 14, nearly 14 years we've been here. We actually went down to see him when he played down at Palma, which where we live. And we went to see him, and we're thinking all the time, this is the man that got us here. And we've seen him live, and we're rolling around laughing at him. If we could have met him, because you're the man that got us here. But he wouldn't have been interested in that. But we had a good laugh, so that's all that mattered.
Good. So, what was the biggest surprise? So, something that you now love that you never thought about before you lived there?
I suppose, weather. The weather's a damn sight better here. You get a summer that lasts. We knew it was going to be roughly the same, high temperatures to be roughly the same, but the winters are easy. Right, I know I counted the first winter we were here, we had 6 frosts. That's 6, in all of winter. It's not like one that lasts for 3 weeks and you try and dig a hole in floor and ground's like concrete, like up at Briggs Farm or something. So I think the weather's probably the nicest surprise. You get some decent weather for a long time as well, not just for the odd couple of days.
Yeah, because we go, it's summer, and actually you get like a few nice days and that's it, and you go, brilliant. But obviously, clearly, it's a great thing.
Yeah. But I mean, you're lucky now because you're coming into summer, whereas we're just coming to winter now. Everything's the opposite. Like you said, it's evening for me, it's morning for you. It's winter over here, it's summer over there. So it's just everything's opposite.
Does that not blow your mind though? I was trying to explain to my daughter yesterday, because I said, I'm speaking to somebody from New Zealand, and she's only 4, and I was saying that it takes a whole day, to get there. Do you know what I mean? And that means you've got to be up and then go to sleep, and then you're not there. And she's like, she couldn't get her head around it. Do you know what I mean? It's just bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Some people they can't understand. Like when you fly somewhere, like when you're coming out here, it takes 2 days to get here, but it only takes half a day to get back to the UK because of the time difference. You're going back in time or forward in time. So Yeah, it's
Mind-blowing.
It's a funny one for people. Yeah.
Right, so let's talk stock cars. So you started your career in 1985 under the number 61. The following season, you changed to 64, which was something to do with Ken Hopes, if I'm right.
Yeah, it was. Surprisingly, there's a few people don't know, but Ken's actually my uncle. So that's the link with Ken, whether you knew or not. But I get quite a few messages on Facebook. Oh, I didn't know that Ken was your uncle. I've known Ken all my life, for 30 years. But no, so Ken's my uncle. And yeah, he gave up he'd hurt his back. So like he were getting towards end of his racing. I'd just started, and Ken to me was my hero, my idol. When I were, from like 9-10 years old, just going to stock cars. When he started banger racing at Sunnyvale, I were there with him. I wanted to be with him all the time. He meant everything to me. That doesn't mean to say he doesn't now, but when you're a young kid, you have heroes, idols, don't you? Well, Ken was mine and my uncle. So obviously, when I had the chance to take 64, and I didn't actually even wait till the following season, I raced Boxing Day meeting as 64, whereas I raced as 61 only for a couple of meetings in 85. So
is that how you got involved in stock cars? Was it Ken that got you involved in stock cars in the first place?
Well, it was a family thing. Going back, take another sort of 9 years off to early 70s. We used to go as, like my mum and dad and me and my brother used to go. Probably about 72, and obviously Ken were going and his mum and dad. So it was a bit of a family thing, but it got a little bit dear for my family, and they couldn't afford to. So we sort of had a spell where I didn't really go, sort of mid 70s. But by this time, Ken were crewing for Phil Smith. So every now and again, I remember like going to like Bellevue and Sheffield and White City. I could go to a couple of meetings. It wasn't many, but I loved every minute of it. So I mean, yes, he's been linked from the start, but it was grandma, or granddad, Ken, mum, dad, me, my brother. Yes, the good old days, early 70s.
Yeah, the heyday potentially of stock cars is what some people say, isn't it? So.
Yeah, and I think I probably missed the best bit, which would have been the mid 70s. But yeah, just a few meetings. But yeah, I go back quite a way. I was a big Buddy McNorden fan when I first started going. So I'm thinking of I was only like 4 or 5 years old. So yeah, McNorden. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's a blast from the past, certainly. Anyway, let's fast forward to 1991 and that semi-final, which I'm sure anybody who's got anything to do with stock cars knows about. So what was going through your mind going into that first bend?
Well, I won't say I had things on my mind. One thing I did say to Mar's wife, before, I said I wanted to be the talk of the semi. And if I say I planned the first corner, that's a lie, it isn't. I remember doing an interview with Rob Hughes years and years ago, and him going, oh, do you plan what you're doing? And I says, you know what you want to do, but the circumstances dictate what you're going to do. And if it's an off-the-cuff, reaction, it works. If you plan it, it doesn't. And it was just right. The cars were where I needed them to be. I could just leave it on, pick them up, and they went in. So, yeah, job accomplished.
Did you expect it to be so successful in terms of, clearing the route through?
Well, you don't think, is it going to be? You just hit someone, your plan is to shift them. But I had 3 cars, because bear in mind, these were all fancy tarmac cars at the time, and mine were just me dual surface car, as they call them these days. So it was a good move. It did what I wanted to, but I was so frustrated when I did it, because I thought I'd done the perfect move, just wiped out these 3 top cars, but Finnegan and Chandler sneaked through. Yeah. And I was frothing, and I think the better hit was them 2 on the next corner, but nobody saw it because they were all watching the aftermath of the first crash. But I think the second, the turn 3-4 crash were better when I took those 2 out.
Did you, when you drove round the next lap round, did you think, I've just stuck John London the fence? Did that cross your mind as well?
No. And for me, I wouldn't think that, cause like the ultimate respect for Lundy. So it's not a one-up, I've got Lundy, you would never go out of your way to get him, because I mean, he was a hard driver. I mean, through 80s when I was watching him, you know, there were no one harder than him on his day. You know, but you wouldn't go for him because he was never dirty or bad with you. He was so skillful. He didn't need to. He'd done the hard work in the mid 80s and never picked on me. And so I didn't go, oh yeah, I got Lundy. But I do remember as I was just lapping Lundy, he just got himself back together, you know, as I come round, and I just thought, oh, I hope he don't take me out. And I should have known there was no way that he would take out the leading car when he were a lap down. So yeah, that soon went. Yeah.
Brilliant. And unfortunately, your clutch kind of went in the sort of later part of the race, so it kind of denied you of a potential win. How did you feel after the race? And you'd done all that, and then you didn't get necessarily the victory you were looking for, or the top finish you were looking for?
Yeah, the clutch actually started going really early on in the race. For you check everything on the car, but it was just one of those things. And I remember just racing around. I just couldn't get on the gas coming out at corners. But I knew the more I tried to come out of the corners fast, the short, my race had just finished because the clutch wouldn't last. So I think I drove sensibly for the clutch, but it enabled me. I could, it had just sort of get bite halfway down straight because I hadn't overheated it, and I could get people at end at straight. So it leveled itself out. But as far as disappointment with it, it's as the race finished, it's what could have been. I could have won a semi-final. I could have had a podium. I could have been near the front in a world final. So yeah, I was gutted because the car let me down. I didn't let myself down, I don't think, but the car did. But by the time I got back into pits, I could barely get out at car, and there's people there, and there are a few people not so happy. No drivers, I'll say that. But it was just, you all of a sudden, the bus took over. I went from nobody to the man in space of one race. I think that's sort of the defining moment for me. That when people went, oh, he's a bit of a nutter, that lad. And so like I say, the crowd, the spectators, the mechanics, the people that were there, just it got me over it. They were,
It was a huge race, and I think, like I said, everybody remembers it that was there, and I certainly do. And you can watch it now. I showed my son the other day on YouTube when I said, I'm interviewing Kev Smith. I said, look, watch this race, and he was like, very impressed. He was very impressed.
Yeah, I got to admit, if I ever watch it again, there's always a smile on my face.
So we've done semi-finals. So you had a couple of fantastic world finals. 1993, you got third. 94, you got second. 95, you were going for a hat-trick of podiums, and then you made friends with Gazbot at Hednesford.
Yeah. Funny year, 95. Obviously, I'd just come off, back-to-back podiums. It would have been nice to have got a third one, although it was never going to happen at Hednesford because it was just a track that didn't suit, me, my car. It was a racing track, and I didn't like racing tracks. But I think I was actually in fourth place at the time. I'd been in top three because it was quite a hectic race with Andy going out, and there were a lot went out in it. So I was there, not by skill really, but it could have happened. And yeah, I was bored stupid. Like I said, that is not a track for me. I'll admit I was bored stupid. I did one car in the race up until right at the end. I think we were about 2 to go and 8 Gazbot. I'd only ever touched one other car, and that were Chris Broxop. And I know I give him a good one to shift him because I was bored as well. And I think I left him dangling off fence somewhere, which was my downfall later because, when I come up behind Gaz, I didn't come up behind Gaz. He come up behind me, and just because he goes bang, and it hit me going into this corner. Like that were, what's a good, and when someone's give you more than they need to, and he knocked me well wide, and I just thought, I'm not having that from from him, and from the sort of not being disrespectful to him, but for sort of what he stood for, and the type of car that he raced, the big engines, the fancy suspension. I didn't like that, that sort of setup. So when he'd done that, I just arms were out, bang, you were going, and if you ever watch the video, our miles back. I should have never made contact with him, but I didn't. He just went straight in, absolutely. And on the video, it looks the perfect one. What it doesn't show is I got 3/4 of the way around corner, but I had so much speed. I'd run up to the fence and then run into Chris Broxop car that I'd put there like 10 laps earlier. And then ripped my front axle out a bit, and then I never finished. But you know, I mean, I was mad at the time because I realised it cost me about £800. but yeah, you live and learn.
But it was worth it in some respects.
Well, yeah, it was. £800 had gone down well, but yeah, I wasn't having that off him. So yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned about, I mean, a brilliant story, and you mentioned you weren't a fan of sort of the racing tracks and sort of maybe the differences in the sport at the time. And was that quite noticeable at that time for you, sort of 95, 94?
Well, from early on in the 90s, yeah, the cars were changing. I mean, yeah, I'll say, yeah, you're a budget racer, you're just there. I worked at local council digging up roads, and, you know, just, you know, money wasn't a thing with me. You know, it was just, you know, I worked for everything that I was doing. I'm not saying other people didn't, but yeah, I had to pay for everything. I didn't have the big sponsorship at all. And all these fancy cars come in, and they were just something else compared to, I was running what you would call a standard stock car, really. And yeah, yeah, I didn't like it. To me, it was going, the sport was going where I didn't think it should. It was taking it away from a working man's sport. And like I said, there were certain drivers, if they had the good tackle, and yeah, they were just, if I had a chance at them, I was going to get them. You know, because of those reasons. And some of them I might not have liked as well, so they'll have got it doubly hard. But you know, that's often more stories.
maybe we'll cover them off as we go on. Then we'll see.
Yeah.
So 94, you won the Long Eaton semi-final, giving you a front row start at Bradford. Did you think that was your best chance of winning the Gold Roof that year?
And looking back, it was certainly my best chance. At the time, I can't remember thinking, oh yeah, you know, if I'm going to win it, it's going to be this year. You've got to believe in what you do. And yeah, I went there to win it. I didn't go there to get second, third, fourth, or DNF. I went to win it. But yeah, you've got to go with the right mindset. But sometimes you look at stuff realistically, and you just think, an example like front row, I got Bez, who everyone says was the best driver never to have won the world final. It was the ultimate shale man. He had the 540, you know, big block Chevy in his car. Mine was still only a 454 bored out at 30,000. I didn't even have a roller cam or anything in mine in those days, where everyone had moved on so much. So, like I said, realistically, you weren't going to be there, but it wasn't going to stop me. I was going to do my best. And I remember one thing, there must have been a boss do, I think, maybe the week before the world final. It's funny how certain little things just stick in your mind. And I were at this boss do, whether it were a quiz night or what. I remember just talking to Bammy, Stu Bamford, for those that, you know, don't know. He was 76 world champion, you know, run Bellevue and all. So, you know, the ultimate promoter, really. And he collared me, and he just sort of says to me quietly, and I remember it, and he just says, Kev, you won't win world final on first bend. And it was just something, and like, you got to respect him. It was a proper bloke, where, you know, with Stu Bamford, and he didn't talk nonsense. And it was like, I remember thinking on that, and I thought, he wants me to win it. He wants me to win it. But like Bradford, you know, I'm Huddersfield, you know, so it was like 10 minutes away. It was my local track. And it's funny how you just remember certain things. But, you know, I went in with the mindset I was trying to win it, but what was going to happen? Who knew?
Yeah, and it's a stock car race, isn't it, at the end of the day? So you can't, like I said before, you can't plan it, can you, at all?
No. Like Frank went there to win it and nearly did, but you know, Lady Luck wasn't on his side that day. So anything can happen in stock cars. That's it.
Yeah, and Bradford's in the news again, isn't it? At the minute, potentially coming back is clearly would be a great thing for the sport.
Oh, of course it would. I mean, it was. Yeah, Bradford was a brilliant place. I know everyone talks of the Coventry, and that is a massive loss. And you know, Coventry and stock cars synonymous with each other. But Bradford were on my doorstep. You know, and it held a lot of world finals there. It'll never be thought of like Coventry, but if that could come back, it would be just, they're losing a lot of tracks, you know, so that one to come back would make up, I think, for some. So, yeah, fingers crossed it all goes well for everyone over there. Who knows, I might come back and watch there then.
You might, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So world championships aside, did you set yourself any kind of goals or aspirations during your Formula One career?
The primary thing, I think, which, if anyone, I talk to anyone now or at the time, I raced to enjoy myself. It was about enjoyment. And I look back and I enjoyed it, and all the time I was enjoying it, I was always going to race. So enjoyment, I say, has got to come first. But I'm also very competitive, so I want to win. I've got to win. But you can't win every race you go in. You're only ever going to win a select few of them. Some people don't even win. So yeah, so the enjoyment, the commitment to do the best that I could, and yeah, just I suppose one of the other goals then is in '94 we made Superstar. Now we were getting close, and that was then a goal to make Superstar. I remember that it was the last weekend of the grading period was double Northampton. It was a Euro, and normally I didn't go to Northampton. Fast tarmac track, didn't really suit me or my style. But I went there, and I knew I'd been keeping a track at points like an anorak there, writing everyone's points down after races. And I'd gone, and fortunately, I won one of the heats on Saturday. Actually, I think I won a heat both days. But I remember then it was a battle between me and Paul Harrison. And we had a couple of ding-dongs while we were racing, did me and Paul. And this particular meeting then, he'd qualified, we're in final. Bang, I sort of stuck him in it final and then took him out at National or something. And then I might have done this one again the same the day after. And he come up to me in bits and he says, "Oh, Kev," he says, "you're an animal, but why?" And I just went, "Bottom Superstar, we're going for Superstar, me and you." I says, "I had to beat you on point." He goes, "You should have told me I'd have stayed at home for weekend." So he wasn't bothered about Superstar, and I just knew I had to stop him getting points. But yeah, the making Superstar, it was a big goal for a couple of reasons. There's only ever been a handful of Superstars, that's or regular Superstars. So to do it is special. But at the time, we've touched on it earlier, there was all the fancy cars around. In '94, I still had, I've said I had a standard, a 454 board out at 30,000. It wasn't anything spectacular. My car was still on leaf springs. Everyone had gone to coils by this time. They were all on fancy brakes. So to make Superstar, it was nearly to show you could still do it as a budget racer. And that actually meant a lot to me, you could do it. You didn't have to spend the money to do it.
Yeah.
And we did. And then we actually maintained Superstar all season. I think I made it for the June gradings or July. But I held it all year and finished fourth in the points. So yeah, I was well happy with what we'd done. Yeah. And like I said, you didn't have to. You what? Sorry.
It's like a huge achievement to maintain Superstar. And like when I've talked to drivers before, they're saying that the commitment and you've got to be proper on it to get and maintain that level in the sport.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and commitment, what you said. I mean, we were at garage nearly every night working on car, just checking it all over. And, if I say we deserved it, that's not that every driver puts the time and effort in. Although talking like with Paul, not talking with him, but watching the Paul Harrison one, like he just sort of said, he didn't want to be there every night of the week. He wanted to go on holidays and stuff, and that were all right. Now, I had to be there every night. We couldn't afford to buy new wheels. I were having to make me wheels and make them for other people to finance the racing and things. So it was just, but we had a good group of lads used to come. We had a good laugh doing it as well. But I mean, I love my workshop time. And building cars. I enjoyed that nearly as much as racing. It was all part of it for me. So, that's an achievement I am, proud of. It's and like I say, to do it without the fancy tackle as well. Bear in mind, everyone had a tarmac and a shell car. So I think that it was like Wayman, Lund, and Falding that all had, the two cars. And then I think me, then Andy Smith, and Andy had the two cars as well. So I just had the one car. Yeah, that was the achievement, That's yeah.
But like I say, you and those names you've mentioned, like huge names in the sport at the time. To me, like you can't get much bigger than that, can you? So, like I say, great achievement.
Yeah. Well, actually, just like you say, the names, like I say, Lundy. You'd always looked up to Lundy. It won't well find God knows how many times by '94. And I remember, I think Coventry was the first meeting I turned up as Superstar. And I started behind him, and I'm thinking, this is wrong, like you're folding your London. They should always be at back, but I was there, and it's surreal. It just, yeah, it's funny feeling, but yeah, I can say I've done it. So
Yeah, absolutely. No,
not because I had a black cross on either.
So I mentioned at the start, your name has come up quite a few times when I've been chatting to a variety of drivers over the course of these interviews. How does it feel now to still get that kind of recognition all these years later?
Well, it depends in what context they're talking. If they're saying bad things about me, I don't want to hear it. But no, I'll be a liar if I say I don't enjoy it. If someone's put something on Facebook, they're talking about, big crashes in the day or the 91 semi. Of course, I get a buzz out. I think, that's nearly 30 years ago, and they're still talking about it. So, again, it backed up. I did something right at the time. So, yeah, it's nice to read or hear that people still, talk of me and liked what I did or didn't like what I did.
So during this interview, I mean, my take on you, a lovely, kind of nice guy, but your racing style was anything but, and you've already kind of alluded to that. Was it intentional to race the way that you did?
Well, I didn't start out to intentionally race like that. I just turned into that. I remember saying to someone, I have no idea who it was, but it's like, it's just as well that they see you at end of a race. If you win a race, you go around on pace car, but because if you didn't know me, if you just watched it, I would have, people would have gone, oh, he's a beer drinking fighting monster, that lad, and I'm teetotal, and and I'll run a mile rather than fight someone. So for the way that I raced, you would have thought aggression, but no, I wasn't a fighter. It's like I got into quite a bit of bother racing. You can imagine I upset a few people, and like a motto, I suppose, at the time, well, if in doubt, keep my visor down. And I've done that a few times. A couple, I'm not going to mention names, but there's been a few drivers that's come, and I've seen one marching across the middle of a race because the race was stopped, and I went, I know where he's coming because I've just taken him out. And full visor down. It's hard to get a fist in a full face helmet with visors down. so yeah, I've had another bit of a funny one as well. This one was a long eater meeting. Again, I'm not mentioning any names, but obviously I must have had a bit of a ding dong with this particular bloke on track, and we come off. I got back into pits and stopped, and they've lifted bonnet the cooling car down, and then they jacked back end up. I might have had a flat tire or something. And this particular driver had come round and he wasn't happy with what I'd done. And I can't even remember what I'd done. So it were insignificant. And he were in cab, and he was not happy. And he got me bit neck, and other hand were there. It was sort of ready. And then little Stevie Houghton, that used to mechanic for Burnsy, he'd seen what were happening. So he run round back at car, but Jack Handel were out. And he tripped over Jack Handel and ended up on a heaping floor. So, so even the bad things have a funny ending. And then anyway, the bloke will have said his grievance. He didn't hit me, and no one ever did hit me. So, yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's part of racing the way that I did. But I'm not a beer drinker. I'm not a fighter. But I suppose I were aggressive on track, and and a few people didn't like it.
No, but I guess clearly you chose to race like that, and you enjoyed racing like that.
Well, yeah, I did. And what I said, like with the semi-final, as much as I was disappointed because it was a potential win or whatever, I'll sort of call them the spectators, the crowd, everyone that just came round afterwards just lifted you back up. Well, I had that then at a lot of meetings. And then other meetings, it might sound wrong to say it, and there was some people at meetings, they used to come and give me some money, and they go, you were worth, and an ex-driver in particular that was, quite well known to me, and he was renowned for being, a tight ass. But he'd come up and he'd give me 20 quid at an Odsal meeting, and he just sort of says, you were worth entry fee alone just to watch you. And there were quite another few, people used to come and go, oh, it's Ace watching you, put this towards your diesel. And it's just, a few people have done that over years, and it's, So again, it then has its benefits, you know, because it's helping you get to the next meeting because they're doing that. It's
yeah, brilliant. So I think you've already kind of mentioned this, but I wanted to ask you. So race drivers are known for getting the red mist. Is that something that you can really recognise and resonate with?
Yeah. We never called it red mist. It would always horns are out, you know, like a bull. Oh, he's getting mad now. Horns is out. So that probably comes back from Opsy days. And but yes, it does affect. Yeah, some people have a shorter fuse than others. I have with certain things. With other things, just let stuff go. But yeah, racing. So whether it's red mist, you know, horns out or what, it's just. Yeah, it does. Like I suppose you could call red mist an early one, and it was red mist. I think it must have been about 87, 88, because I still had Bez car. I were only a yellow top. I were useless. I was just fence fodder. I was for years, you know. I won a couple of whites and yellows races. That were it. I didn't win anything up until 90. But I remember doing really well at an Aycliffe meeting, and it were raining, and I come to pass. Oh, I'm going to mention his name, and like this bloke is a sound bloke. But John Toulson up at Aycliffe, well, you wouldn't mess with John Toulson anyway. Plus, he was 6'2" tall, and you know, he were an animal behind the wheel, a good proper stock car driver. But I remember coming to lap him in this wet race. He must have got legged up, but I was doing well. I think I were on for winning it. And he picked me up and he put me in fence coming out at corner at Aycliffe. And I remember I was thinking, oh, you know, and I'm thinking, I'm a belittling him because I passed him, because I was a nothing, a nobody. And a few weeks later, and I'm not proud of this. This goes against what I really believe in, but this is getting back to your red mist. We were at Skeggy, and there were a massive pile up down the straight. And it ended up being a loads of like local Huddersfield Cleckheaton lads, and a bit of a car flew off and went into the car park and landed on someone's bonnet. But I were behind Toulson at the time, bear in mind 2 or 3 weeks after he's, you know, taken me out of a potential win. And he had to avoid all these cars going down in front at starter. So he pulled off onto grass, and I went, ha ha! So I pulled off onto grass with him. And I'm sorry to say, like I said, but I just followed him all the way across the centre green, and then he picked up a marker tyre, which they had, and the marker tyre was stuck under his front, you know, like front axle, and then it hit the curb and it launched him. I think I was still pushing him, and this is on the apex of the corner, and I think he landed in fence with me just behind him. So now that isn't what I did, but at the time it had to be red mist. But I remember then, like my car stopped at Sheer Bottom at Drive off Oil Pump Drive, which also drove the Dizzy. On Ford. So my car stopped, it wouldn't go anywhere. Race was stopped because of, you know, down, start, finish straight. And I gets out of my car, and then John Toulson got out of his car, and I remember him walking towards me, this 6 foot, you know, huge, scary monster, and there's me with like 10 stone piss wet through. And I remember bending my knees to look even smaller, thinking, it can't take someone that's only 5 foot tall. I can't remember. He might have just said something to me. I can't remember. But like I said, there were no, you know, there were never any problems with him again. And he probably hadn't even realised what he'd done to me. But it were, like I said, I'm laughing about it, but I'm not proud of what I did, because it's like I was more stick them in and carry on. It's but yeah.
But brilliant story. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm pleased he didn't whack you as well. That's quite good.
Oh yes, I might. Like I'm only 5 foot then with bent knees. So.
So looking back, do you think you would have had maybe more success in terms of like championship wins or race wins if you hadn't been as aggressive in your racing style?
Definitely not. No. With some people maybe, but for me, the aggression was the leveler. I didn't have the tackle. I know I've gone on about it, and people that don't know might get sick, but I didn't have the tackle to be, you know, sort of where we were. But all of a sudden you got people that would move out of your way because they saw you in the mirrors. Well, that helps you get into the front. Apart from when you've committed to hit someone, they move at last minute and then you hit them, and that's happened a couple of times, and then it looks really bad. But no, so I think the aggression got me where I was, not the other way. I don't think it. I can't think. Someone would probably correct me, but I can't really think of when my aggression had, you know, cost me, you know, big in any championships or races. Yeah. I think it only, you know, helped what I did. Like I said, it was the biggest leveler.
Yeah, I think when I've spoken to a few people, they've sort of talked about you get a reputation, and it does kind of help you, you know, whether it be, you know, hard driver or fast driver, whatever it is, it does help you in your racing, because people do tend to think, oh, I need to move out of the way a little bit, or whatever. So yeah, it's good. Right, moving on. So what do you remember of that famous crash with Kev Clare at Bellevue? I mean, at the time, it looked like you were going to end up in the pits. I'll be honest.
Yeah. I can still remember quite a lot of it. It were British Championship there. I think I'd already won one of the heats. I think that was my second heat, and he was leading and I was second. And it turned into a spectacular crash. And it wasn't because I was an idiot. It was just conditions, circumstances. The track were a bit bumpy, wet speedway bike set off. You see, we started getting a bit of a bounce on. I'd run into him, then he'd like hit another rut and gone sideways and dug in, and it ended up being a good crash. And I remember then just like, you know, only time I'm like, you're just looking at the sky, and I'm thinking, where am I going? I'm going over the fence. I've got to clear the fence. I remember thinking that. Anyway, I didn't. I come back down, sort of landed bumper up to the fence, and like, you know, oh, good, it's still running, sticks it in reverse, looks in the mirror, and all I could see were an oil filter, because he were upside down right behind me. So I went, oh, right. And then reds were out, and they stopped it. And then the other thing that I remember then is, like, so my car was still running. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't drive it at the time, because he were right behind me. But I thought, oh, my car might be all right. And I'd seen, as they stopped the race, they got the tractor on and pulled Kev's car out at way, and there were a few like marshals there, and one of my crew, I watched him and he jumped over the fence and he's running towards me, and I'm going, no, get back, because I knew if he'd have got to me, I'd have been taken out at race, and I needed to carry on, you know, British Championship points starting here at front. So he jumped straight back over the fence, and then I backed out then when they moved his car, and you know, I had to join back at, you know, grade. And I remember going down back straight, front wheels were like pointing like that, and I'm going, whoa! And I thought, oh, I can cope with this. Brakes were a bit spongy and steering was shocking, but I think I finished 5th or 6th. So, yeah.
The clip has been on the internet over the last couple of weeks, and I watched it again, which reminded me and prompted me to ask the question. And you did drive off and carry on. And then I think Kev Clare's interviewed and said something like, oh, it was Kev Smith. Do you know what I mean? What do you expect?
That's what makes me like, that's Stu Milnes, the interview. So, yeah, I think Kev Clare said, oh, we can take it or something. And then they said to Stu Milnes, I think it was he the chairman or something at the time. And they go, no, what do you think of that? And he just goes, it's Kev Smith, in it. And I just thought, that's perfect for me to hear that. It's what you expect. So, but like I said, it was circumstances that really caused that crash. I mean, and again, I mean, Ken was a good lad, not against him. There was nothing, you know, nasty towards him. It was unfortunate how it happened. Yeah. And, you know, and he did get a bit of damage. I think it looked a mess.
Yeah. Well, but it was a while ago, so everybody's forgotten about it.
Yeah, and I did bend my steering and bits and pieces, so.
Was there ever a time when you put somebody in the fence and thought, I wish I had done that?
There's a couple of times that I've put people in fence and thought it should have been harder. So, and yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a couple of times, like when I just sort of said about the Toulson thing. It was I mean, that was sort of silly. That was a young bloody 17, 18-year-old Kev Smith with no experience being stupid. But I'd like to think, you know, I prided myself. I was an aggressive, hard driver, but didn't follow people in. Some people follow it in, and I don't really have any time for that. It's, yeah. So well, I suppose as well, like, something I used to say to myself is like that I can get anybody, but if they get me back, then I owe them. So, you know, that were like part of the racing. So as long as I did it properly, there's no regrets. There's a couple, I've never ever wanted to hurt anybody, but like it goes with the racing. I've hurt myself racing. A couple of people have got hurt because of what I've done, and I don't get any satisfaction at all. You know, I'm disappointed with that. But yeah, the other thing is you can't get it wrong. If a couple of times that I can think of where I've gone in with the car that I've gone to get, I would then think, I wish I hadn't have done that, because I feel I've let myself down, because that's not what I do. I hit them hard, they go in the fence or into a parked car, and I go around the corner. So hopefully that answers it for you.
It does, yeah.
No regrets, really.
Yeah. And did you have a list then in the back of your truck if you needed to, who you owed one to?
It were all in there. It were like, So going back to early 90s then, if you can remember, I used to have an elephant on car.
Yeah.
And there were one driver, and it took me about 3 years, 4 years to get him back. It was a Boston meeting, I was running second in a consolation, and he stuck me in, and he was a good driver, and I was just a yellow top, and it took me a long time before I got him back, but I got him back. So hence the elephant that's, never forgets. But when people used to come up in pits and says, "Oh, what's elephant for?" It just depends. If it were a girl that says, "What's elephant for?" Well, the trunk.
Brilliant. So, at the start of your career, and then you've said it yourself, you were classed very much as a budget racer. In the sort of early 90s, you acquired a significant sponsor in the form of Tony Cole. And I still remember it as being sort of one of the first times it's quite a big deal to kind of have a big sponsor. So, how did that come about?
I can't remember the exact ins and outs of how it started. I know he will have been taking me tyres to Castle Tyres because they used to, vulcanise all my tyres, because I popped a few, as everyone does. So that'll have been the link with him. And I think before he sponsored me, he might have sponsored I think he sponsored young Frank. He sponsored him a couple of times. But I think what happened with Tony is, what I've commented earlier, I didn't win races. I was just our fence fodder for a long time. I built my new car for 1990, but at the end of the year, something had just clicked before Tony was involved with us. So I'd gone for like 4 years and never won a race other than Whites and Yellows race. And then, last meeting at Scunthorpe, a bit wet, and I won heat and I won Grand National. My first ever race win that I won there. Briggy was second, and Briggy was like a wet shale man, and I lapped him. So my first ever proper race win then was there. So something that clicked. Then I won the Grand National, like I said, and then it was the end of the season. Tony came on board during the close season because, like I said, I can't remember exactly how, but he did have an old Chevy engine. So we ended up we took my Ford out and we put that in the car, for the 91 season. And then just before it started season, we were just like putting water in and firing it up. And there were a hole in head, it was spitting water out at exhaust. So last minute before Hartlepool first meeting at season for us, we took Chev out, threw it to one side and put my old 464 back in. And then again, I went to Hartlepool, fourth in, and I can remember, fourth in heat, second in final, won national. So I'd just done 2 meetings on trot and won, and I'd done 4 years and not won. And then following weekend was Scunthorpe. I still had my Ford in. We had a problem. We were late getting there. Got there for consolation, and I won consolation. 3 meetings on the trot, and I've won. So, like I said, something had just clicked. Yeah. So Tony just come at the time when obviously my new car had got sorted or whatever, and then he was so disappointed that there was a problem with the engine that it gave me to race. And I had to go back to my old one. He actually bought an engine from Performance Unlimited, which were a big sponsor of like the points, national points, and that at the time. And it was actually Dave's dyno engine for doing cam work and running cams in and finding information out. And again, that was just a 454. It didn't have roller gear in it to start with, but he did put it in later. And when we got that, it was just, all of a sudden I had loads of power. It just never run out to grunt that. And so we did quite well with it. But yeah, good times. Tony were a good old boy. Fortunately, not with us any longer. But no, fond memories of when Tony were around.
Yeah. So how did it feel to have like sort of a sponsor, like one sort of person, not necessarily funding all your racing, but certainly contributing quite heavily to it? Was that very different to how it was before?
Yes, it was, and obviously to start with, it was really good because I mean, I'll be honest, I don't make any secret of it. I mean, Tony owned the engine, and to me it was a monster engine, but it was still not a monster engine because 510 cubic inches were with a go at the time. Mine was still the 454. And one of the other things that obviously money was a big thing with me. I local council worker, money it wasn't there. And something that you sort of said then about I was classed as a budget racer. I'd like to think I stayed a budget racer through most of my career. Like we've said, the 94 proving you could do it on the budget. And it was just, at the time, people didn't believe me, but there's no reason to lie. But in the late 80s, I got together with Mars and we started saving for a house. So probably from about 88 onwards, I raced off. So my wage and her wage just went into this thing, and we both got £100 a month to do what we wanted with. She was saving to go to Disney. So from, we'll say 88 or 89, I raced off £100 a month. That's £25 a week. Now, obviously, the younger people that's watching now, they don't know what that money would buy, but it wouldn't run a Formula One stock car. But we did everything to make the money. So when Tony came along then and gave me an engine, and the big thing is he also bought me the tyres. It was a good sponsor. He wanted me. He'd seen the potential. He wanted me to get to the top, and we'd started winning, and then we put the Chev in. Then we started winning finals, and we're just. Yeah, it was
a brilliant help. A brilliant help.
Oh, yeah, it really was. So for I think 92. I think it was middle of 92 when we sort of parted ways. But we just. But early on, it were good. Funny. For all the people, people that knew Tony Cole will appreciate this one. He used to come round to the garage at nights, and there was a lad called Kev Thompson that helped us at the time, and Kev would have screamed, so we had a good laugh all the time. And Tony used to turn up, and Tony, he was an accountant. He was a big bloke, and he was an accountant, so he always had like this, suit pants and white shirt on all the time. And he'd come to the garage, and it's not a clean job, is it, working on stock cars? And Tony, being Tony, insisted. It was always, wherever you were working, he was there with you. It was just not seeing that you did the job right, because he probably wouldn't know, and I don't mean that rude about you. He was there. He was getting stuck in. You'd be pulling half shaft out, and he'd be 6 inches away from you. So what we did is, when we knew it coming, because he had a distinctive sounding car. He always had like a nice road car, did Tony. And what we used to do is we used to lay down on the floor. We were like turtles, and we used to roll on the floor like this to get his overalls dirty. And then we used to see how dirty we could get Tony Cole. So because he was always there working, right outside of where you were working, you'd brush against him, and then you'd brush against him, and the dirt from the workshop floor, like at Briggs farm, it's not the cleanest place in the world. So he used to go home dirtier than us, but that was always the goal. Like I say, people that knew Tony Cole will appreciate, that. It's like I say, he had a heart of gold. I think, to sum Tony up, Tony lived his racing career or his life through other people, because he wasn't physically, built or well enough to, to do it himself. So I think he got his buzz helping people out and getting the results, and like I say, fond memories.
Yeah, absolutely, and it definitely comes across like that. And like I said, greatly helped you, and I'm sure you're hugely appreciative of what he did for you.
Oh, certainly, yeah.